All right, so today I wanted to talk a little bit more about crypto. We have a couple big, well, not huge pieces, but prominent things that I wanted to talk about when it comes to the crypto space. The first one being Mila Kunis, basically saying that they've been in Bitcoin for 8 years apparently, which is pretty insane. So that's a pretty prominent name that's in the crypto space. And also Tom Brady changed his Twitter profile pic to the laser eyes, basically hinting that he's been investing or plans on investing in Bitcoin. Now he hasn't denounced the Russell Okung, Sean Culkin route yet, but there's nothing stopping you from just converting it the old-fashioned way. Now, I mean, if you're Tom Brady and you want to put, 10% of your net worth in that, that's probably at least $10 million, probably upwards of 20 or $30 million. So, yeah, that's a little harder to do than the average person wanting to put 10 grand in. Obviously, that's a pretty big undertaking, but nonetheless, it's very important. And this is the thing when it comes to the crypto space is that people don't seem to, a lot of people on the outside looking in, is that they think they've missed the boat. When in reality, we're still in the early days. Like we're still in the early days. And the other important point here too is that people think, oh, the government's going to ban Bitcoin. Well, number one, it's not possible. That's like saying the government's going to ban, neighbors from talking to each other, right? That they can do it, but you can't stop it at the end of the day. So they're not going to do that, right? But what they would probably do is they would just raise the capital gains tax on it. Now, the problem with that is that people can find ways around it, but people can find ways around all kinds of taxes, right? But again, the prominent thing, the important thing here, I mean, is that more and more people are getting into it, and more importantly, more and more prominent people are getting into it, right? And this is part of the reason why people think that the gains of the crypto market is largely happened already, and that it's going to take a while for things to go up again, which I don't think is the case. And the other thing people think is, oh, Bitcoin, it goes up a lot after the halvings and then it comes back down a lot again. But I don't think that's going to happen. And most of the people who I trust and who've been right up into this point don't think that's going to happen either. And because things are now, that's not to say it couldn't happen, but I think a 80, 100% drawdown is very unlikely, simply because the last times, especially the first time, but even the 2017 or 2016, 2017 time, is there was like no institutional money in it, and there was hardly, I mean, clearly Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher were in it, but they weren't being open about it, right? This is the difference: is that the amount of institutional money that is in it is a lot more than 20 the first halving, and even quite a bit more than the second halving, right? Um, so that's something people need to realize. And the other important thing too is that the amount of new Bitcoin is what, a quarter of what it was the first time around and half of what it was then. So not only is the demand a lot more than it was then, but the amount of new Bitcoin is a lot less than it was then. Now, like I said, does that mean that, again, I'm not an expert. Obviously, you got to do your own research. I don't care who you are, who you're listening to, who you are. You should be doing your own research. But again, obviously, my opinion being is that I think we still have a lot of room left to grow, like a ton of room. Now, the other big thing that's becoming, I think, an issue that needs to be talked about more in the crypto space is the more hardcore crypto people have resorted to trashing Bitcoin in a lot of cases, which I understand what they're saying, but it makes absolutely and utterly no sense. Like, absolutely and utterly no sense. And why is that? Um, yeah, I understand the transaction fees are a problem, but the thing about that is Bitcoin doesn't need to be a currency that you use for day-to-day transactions for it to go up. Again, like I always bring up, gold, no one uses gold, hardly anyone. I guarantee you more people are still using Bitcoin for day-to-day things than gold. Gold still has a market cap of like 8 times, 9 times Bitcoin. So even if transaction fees never get to a reasonable rate, Bitcoin still has a lot of room to grow, right? And the other big thing too is that um, if there's a lot of money to be made in finding a way to be able to transact in Bitcoin for cheap, like for very little, it's only a matter of time until someone comes up with a way, because there is a massive amount of money or Bitcoin or crypto to be made in coming up with that solution. So again, like what I would say is just give the free market some time to figure this stuff out, right? And I think the other thing too is that there's a lot of people out there that I think just want to make a quick buck too, that rather than do things the way, again, like not that Bitcoin, again, 200% returns over the last 10 years, that isn't enough for these people. And that they push a bunch of money into some coin with a $50 million market cap, and they try and convince their 100,000 or their million followers to put a bunch of money into it. And again, it's just a classic pump and dump scheme. Now, Doge is a kind of an example of this because the market cap of Doge is way, way, way bigger than that. But again, Doge is a classic pump and dump scheme, textbook pump and dump. Maybe not quite textbook, but pretty much the definition of a pump and dump. And why is that? Because anyone that actually understands Doge is not putting money in Doge for long-term capital appreciation. People that are putting money in Doge, at least the people who actually know what they're talking about, which is not that many people, um, are doing it for a quick buck, right? They're doing it for a quick buck. And the crazy thing too is that I've seen a ton of people that are putting money in Doge that genuinely think that they're going to make money long term off Doge. Like I've seen tons of these. Like TikTok is terrible for this. Instagram is pretty bad for this. It's just naive people. It's you have these quote unquote influencers that have, like I say, they're hundreds of thousands or millions of followers. They're just new to the crypto space. Again, these are smart people too. They're not dumb people. That they recognize an opportunity to make a ton of money very quickly. So they put money into these things. They pump it full. They convince a bunch of their fans to put money into it. They cash out, make a bunch of money, and at some point someone's left holding the bag. And look at Doge too. Again, it's lost like 30% over the last week. It almost hit $1 Canadian again. And this is the craziest thing too, that I'm listening to some of these guys on YouTube that are actually fairly rich. Some of these guys have like 8, 9, well, not maybe not 9, but some of these guys have like 20, $30 million portfolios. It's like, and they're talking about, like, they bring up that it's a joke, but they're talking about it like it can have some long-term value. It's like, how stupid can you be? Like like, maybe the I'm not to say Doge, like Doge, it wouldn't surprise me if Doge went to $1, $2, but 10 years from now, very, 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 very low chance Doge is in the top 10 cryptos by market cap, or at the very least has a higher market cap than it does right now. And why is that? Again, for the people that don't, Doge had, again, the main benefit of cryptocurrencies is, number one, they're decentralized, which Doge technically is, but the other big one is they're capped, right? The unlike fiat money, you can't just print up a bunch of it and type numbers into a computer and create new units. And this is the reason why XRP is a complete shitcoin. This is why I'm a little bit skeptical of ETH, although ETH does have a lot of potential with like smart contracts and stuff like that, which is why I have a little bit of it. But um, the main, and this is also why like Pirate Chain and stuff like that have a lot of potential in my mind. Again, those are mainly Monero as well for the privacy aspects. But again, Doge is, I think it's 10,000 every 1 minute or every 10 minutes. Either way, there's 5.2 billion new Doge that are created every year. Now, to be fair, Doge may not be inflating at the rate of, say, the US dollar, but it's still inflating way, 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 way more than Bitcoin or Ethereum, even, right? And another thing too that people miss too is that they see Doge, that it's, oh, it's whatever it is right now, 60 cents or whatever. It moves around a lot. Actually, it's actually at 50 US. So but I guess that's about 60 Canadian. Um, and they think that they can make more money off it than, but what they don't understand is that just because some, and this is the same thing goes with stocks too, is that um, people think that you can make more money off penny stocks than off regular stocks. Now, that's true to an extent, but you really need to know how you're doing. And this is the other thing too, that a 10% move in Bitcoin is the same as a 10% move in Doge, right? And people just don't understand that. It just goes to show just how little people know about a lot of that stuff. Um, but again, back to the main point here is that I think a lot of the more hardcore people in the crypto space, they're forgetting they're forgetting what the original goal was, right? And that, again, they bring up the privacy aspect, which I understand. They bring up the transactional aspect of it, but the point I would bring up is that the battle hasn't been, or the war hasn't been won. We've won the battle, but we haven't won the war. The war is to put the banks out of business, and we haven't done that. And this is the point I brought up all the time: is that if Bitcoin goes to zero, the crypto space will stop growing. In that, if you're someone on the outside looking in on the crypto space, the chances of you getting into crypto, whether it's the privacy coins or whether it's Bitcoin, doesn't matter which one it is, the chances of you getting into crypto go down drastically if Bitcoin goes to zero, right? It doesn't matter how much more technologically sound, how much better the privacy is of whatever coin. If Bitcoin goes down, people from the outside looking in are being like, yeah, Bitcoin went to zero. I'm going to lose all my money if I put my money in crypto. Now, some people will recognize that that's not the case, but most of them won't. And a lot of people also bring up, well, I don't care if some idiot who won't listen loses money, which, again, I don't necessarily disagree as well. Like, again, my strategy has changed to, I don't really tell people about this stuff, right? If they ask about it, fine. But again, if people want to be dumb, again, like Bitcoin and the crypto space as a whole has been the greatest investment opportunity of everybody's lifetime. Like investing in crypto makes investing in Bay Area real estate or Toronto or Vancouver real estate like 30, 40 years ago, it makes that look like child's play, like absolute child's play. Like, yeah, you maybe, you bought a house in, the Bay Area or Toronto for, let's say, 50 grand, 30 years ago, and now it's worth 2 million. That's pretty good. That's a pretty darn good return. But you put money in, again, the returns of crypto is, again, Bitcoin 190% over the last 10 years. Even over the last 5 years, it's still over 100% a year. Like, there's no realist nowhere on earth where the real estate is growing that fast over a long run, right? But this is the thing, right? Like, in that, what people should be telling people in the crypto space is, yeah, Bitcoin's not perfect, but it's still the best coin. And a lot of people, again, let's talk about the surveillance aspect of it too. Well, okay, yeah, the government can surveil you, but it's still, you can still mask yourself to some degree, right? You can convert your coins back and forth, but to the privacy coins. There's ways of getting around that stuff if you really know what you're doing. And the second aspect of that is that even if the government can track your Bitcoin, if everybody held their money in crypto, let's say Bitcoin being the majority of that, the central banking system would be destroyed overnight, right? And this is one of the main goals, has always been one of the main goals of the crypto space. So why are we abandoning that, right? And a lot of these guys say, oh, put your money in the privacy coins, put your money in this coin, that coin, where you can transact for cheaper. I understand that, but like I said, when people are on the outside looking in, think of crypto, the first thing they think of is Bitcoin. And a lot of these people just don't understand that. I mean, maybe they do. I don't know, but they're ignoring the elephant in the room in my mind. And I don't think that's something that's in the long run going to work. Like I say, my philosophy on this has changed to, I would say maybe 50, 60, again, just my personal opinion, probably 50, 60, maybe 70, upwards of 80%, depending on who you are, right? Everybody has different goals. I would say in that 50 to 80% of your crypto portfolio should be in Bitcoin. And of the rest of that, I'd say probably 10 to 20, maybe more, depending on who you are. This number may go up to 40 or 50. Should be in the privacy coins because I think owning those are very valuable as well. And then you can maybe take 10, maybe at most 20% of your and mess around with the altcoins, right? Because again, a lot of people like to do that. Again, the problem with the altcoins, Doge being a prime example of that, is that they tend to be pump and dump schemes. Now, there is the diamonds in the rough. There is the Bitcoins and the Ethereums that actually have some long lasting value, I think. But most of them are going to be very volatile, and you're going to have to time the markets pretty good on a lot of these, right? I mean, look at Pirate Chain, prime example. It went from less than $1 to 20. I think it went to $21 Canadian in like less than a week, I think it was, and it went back down to like 6 within a matter of 2 or 3 days. The average person doesn't have the wherewithal to manage that. Like they just don't. They just don't. Now, a lot of the people that have been in the crypto space can manage it, right? They know what that's like, but the average person doesn't have the wherewithal, right? Again, this is one thing that Bitcoin has shown over the last, basically this year. It's actually a lot less volatile. Again, people think that it's volatile, but it really isn't volatile when you compare it to the other cryptos. I mean, look at Doge, look at Pirate, look at some of these other cryptos. Like Bitcoin moving more than 10% in a day is very, very, very surprising at this point. But again, Pirate Chains has moved like 30, 40, 50%, like for multiple days over the last month. Same goes for Doge, both up and down, right? That's the other thing too. It'd be one thing if it's just going up or it's just going down, but they're all over the place, right? So again, that's basically what I wanted to bring up. But again, the main point here is, like I say, it's not too late, and again, it's not too late, right? Again, I think we're still at the early stages of this. I think that people are going to look back 10 years from now and say, you know, can you believe that people thought that things had peaked 10 years ago when we have $1 million Bitcoin, we have, I don't know, $50,000 ETH, we have $10,000 Monero, we have $1,000 Pirate Chain, we have, $100 Cardano, just going down the list of things, right? I mean, there's Bitcoin Cash, I think is half decent as well. In my mind, again, 99% of cryptos are complete garbage. They are, for lack of a better word, shit coins. Now, does that mean that you can't make money off them? Absolutely not. You can make money off the worst coins easily. The problem is that it's going to be harder to do it, right? It's going to be harder to do it, right? And then if you just put money, if you just put X, $100 a month in Bitcoin, $100 a month in Ethereum, you're going to make really good returns, at least in my opinion. But if you put $100 in Doge a month, things are going to be all over the place. You may lose everything. Maybe not everything, but a lot, right? So that's basically what I wanted to bring up. Like I say, take home point. You're not too late. We are still we are still at the early stages of this, right? We are still at the early stages of it, and that's the other thing too. Like, um, what happens if we get the Lightning Network? Again, they've been saying the Lightning Network's very close for the longest time, which makes a lot of people skeptical. But at some point, it's more likely than not that we get it. I think that, again, if we get the Lightning Network, that probably makes Bitcoin go up 10, 20, 30% almost overnight, right? So again, just what I wanted to bring up today. So like I said, if you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out those links below. Follow me on those other platforms if you want to donate. Again, very much would appreciate that. But like I said, check out those links and stay tuned for more.